Stop living out of your inbox. Or we sure need to do that, right? Just to get off that hamster wheel. Well, our program today is being sponsored by Careers Advance, a private practice specializing in professional training and development. My name is Lisa Panarello. I'm the head of Careers Advance, and I will be your host. Now, two quick things before we kick off. One, our program is being recorded and will be emailed to you next week so you can reinforce what you heard, catch what you missed, and share it with your friends and colleagues. And you can check out past webinars on Careers Advance's YouTube channel. Second, for audio quality, all mics will be kept on mute. However, I do want you to have a voice. So I encourage you to drop ideas and questions into the chat box as they arise, and we'll address as many as possible at the end of our program. Now, get ready for a dynamic hour of step-by-step instructions on using Microsoft Outlook as it was designed to be. We're going to find out how to have less emails, how to go paperless, reduce workload spillover, realize our potential for serious efficiency, and how to gain at least 4 hours of a year of our life back. Don't we all want that? But that's where I'm going to step off, because we have an expert on the subject here with us today. And I'm excited to introduce Tana Mann-Easton. Tana is the lead efficiency engineer at Focus to Evolve. She grew up in the charming small town of Mondover, Wisconsin, and graduated a bachelor's degree in communication studies from the University of Wisconsin, La Crosse. 6 years later, she moved to the Big Apple, New York City, and led a 14-year career as senior private client coordinator with the financial firm A.B. Bernstein. It was during that time that Tana leveraged her organizational skills and became so efficient and enjoyed learning how to be productive so much that she joined Focus to Evolve in 2020 in order to teach others the cheat codes that she learned. Currently living in Medina, Ohio with her husband and son, Tana really thrives on being a professional guide, leading people in the direction of balance. On that note, as time is always of the essence, let's gain some wisdom on how to save some. Tana, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Lisa. Hi, everybody. As Lisa said, my name is Tana, and I am really looking forward to this today. As nerdy as this is, I love talking about this crap. So thank you for giving me, a stranger, an hour of your time today, just to give you a little overview of what we're going to be talking about. And there was a typo on Lisa's slide that said the advantages. It's actually up to 4 weeks back every year, not 4 hours. There's a big difference there. So I'll get more into that. And that's a big difference. So I just wanted to point that out and to give you an overview of what we're going to be doing today. The first 15-20 minutes, I have some slides to show you, and I'm going to talk about some meta skills and the why behind what I'm then going to show you in Outlook. And then we're going to go into my actual Outlook environment and show you step-by-step instructions for how to use it as a second brain to stay on top of every single thing you need to do in your life. That's the way I've always used Outlook. It has always had my back, and it has always reminded me of the things that I need to do every day. And I love showing people how to use it in a way where it can be your friend instead of your foe. And then afterwards, we should have some time for questions. So like Lisa said, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. And then she and I will look at the chat at the end to hopefully answer as many questions as we possibly can before getting you all out of here at 1 o'clock. So with that, I'm going to stop my video because bandwidth wise, my computer sometimes hates me when I have both my video and I'm sharing my screen up. So we'll see you again at the end. And I am going to start sharing my screen. Lisa, can you give me a thumbs up when you can see the slide? Okay, great. So before I start, I always like to give my intention for my time with my clients. My intention today is not to show you how to use Outlook more efficiently so that you can just do more and more and more and get more burnt out even faster. That is not my intention. My intention is always to show people how to use Outlook so that you can get your things to do done as efficiently as you possibly can, so that then you create this void of time in your day where you get to say, oh, well, what do I want to do with this time that I have freed up in my day? So that is always where I am coming from. I don't want to burn people out even faster. That's never what I want. So with that, let's get started. All right. So first of all, I want to comment on our environments. I've heard it said that our environments will eat our intentions for breakfast, never mind lunch and dinner. It will devour whatever you place in front of it because it's so hard to beat our environments. In the podcast, The Unmistakable Creative, the host was interviewing an environmental engineer specialist named Jim Bunch. And they were talking about the importance of the skill of engineering your environment. Like, if you want to eat better, get all of that darn junk food out of your house, because if the junk food is in your house and therefore in your environment, then your environment is setting you up to fail in your intention to eat better. And your work environment has a lot to do with Microsoft Outlook. So it's important to engineer that environment to pull you towards your intentions versus away from them. Does it distract you or help you focus? And when Outlook comes out of the box, it is set up in some very distracting ways. So one of the first things I'd like to do is change one of those distracting settings. Now, if you are at a computer where you can kind of toggle between watching me and actually going into your Outlook environment and doing the things that I'm doing, this is a part where you would want to kind of do that. If not, this is a part where you might want to take notes or refer to the video later as to the steps for what I'm about to do. So when you first start Outlook in the morning, I am assuming that it goes directly to your inbox because that is the out of the box Outlook default setting for when Outlook is set up on a computer. But I would like to change that. So instead of going to your inbox, it goes to this right here, which is my calendar for the day and my to-do list or task list for the day. And when we talk about Outlook, I am using the installed version for PCs. So if you're using Outlook Web or Outlook for Mac, things might be different. And you can email me after this session to find kind of corresponding ways to do the things that I'm doing in the installed PC version. But most people have this version, so that's what we are working with. So in order to change where Outlook opens in the mornings or whenever you load it up, the way that you do that is first you go to File in the upper left-hand corner. And then once you're at File, you want to go to Options in the blue left-hand area. And once the new screen pops up, I want you to go to Advanced. And then the second heading says Outlook Start and Exit. Yours probably says Inbox right now in this box. What I need you to do is click the Browse button, find where yours says Calendar. It's usually alphabetical. Click on it and then click OK. And once you have Calendar in here, then you click OK at the bottom of this window. And once you do that, if you were to test it and if you closed out of Outlook and you opened it back up, it should go directly to your calendar screen. So why am I asking you to do this? Just like in your personal finances, you want to pay yourself first with your time. So with your money, if you want to put 401k money away or college bound fund or HSA contributions, you want that money to go straight from your employer to those places. You don't want it to go to a checking account where you might accidentally spend it. And this is starting from this area instead of your inbox is how we're going to pay ourselves first with our time. And I'll explain that more in a second. But you are probably not seeing your task list at the bottom, or at least an area for your task list at the bottom. In order to see this area, first of all, you have to be in a daily or a work week setting. If you're in a monthly setting or view, then you would not be able to see the tasks at the bottom because there's too much information. So I'm almost always in a daily view. So if you go to Home and then Day, and then in order to get the task list at the bottom, you would go to the View tab and then Daily Task List, and you would go to Normal. and that will bring up an area for tasks. And I will show you how to create tasks in a moment, or actually a little later. But this right here is the working mode or working environment that I sit in the majority of my day, not my inbox, but in here, because this point cannot be overstated. It's a great psychological relief to not view the totality of an inbox inhabited by hundreds and some people tens of thousands of emails and trying to make sense of what do I need to do today? What's important? What do I need to do first? What do I need to do next? But to only see what you have to do for that one day. And starting from this calendar and task hybrid view is how you're going to pay yourself first. Because in the morning, when you open up Outlook, it's now going to go straight to your calendar and task list. You'll look at your calendar and your time commitments or the hard landscape of your day, and then you'll go straight to the task list at the bottom and do a task or two or many before you even go to your inbox one time. But again, we will dive into this more in a little bit. Oops. So we talked about our environments. The second topic I want to discuss is focus. Now, believe it or not, focus is a skill that you can develop and it can be dramatically improved. In the book, A Brave New World, the author said humans have an insatiable appetite for distraction. And of course, that's true. I can see it in myself. It's important that humans are curious and distracted because that's how things are discovered. But when you're trying to get things done, you shouldn't be so distracted. You should try to put distractions aside that pull you away from your main task. And a lot has been written about multitasking. Most experts agree that just over 1% of humans born can actually multitask, meaning you can process more than one thing in your prefrontal cortex simultaneously, and you're a rare human being if you can do it. I am not one of them. If I were, I could give this presentation to you amazing people and simultaneously write a letter to my mom, like literally at the same time, not quickly switching from one to the other, but literally at the same time. And for humans who have this kind of X factor ability, they're usually found out early in life and tapped on the shoulder to become like fighter pilots or CIA agents. So for most of us, we want to get away from the idea that multitasking is even possible because of the idea of cognitive switch tax. There's a TED Med talk with a neuroscientist who talks about a research project he did where he took a sleeping brain and a problem-solving brain, and he hooked up all the nodes on the brain and he did measurements on it as it was going through the different stages of problem-solving and sleeping. And he noticed a dramatic similarity between the two. They are both phase-based. You can't solve a difficult problem in 2 minutes. There are a lot of different neural pathways that need to connect in order to solve a problem, and those connections take time. Just like when you lay down to go to sleep, you don't go into the delta or deepest level of sleep right away. It takes time to go through the different sleep phases to get to delta. And what happens when you finally get to delta and the dog barks? You get up, you let the dog out, it takes care of its business, you bring it back in, you settle it down, you go back into your bed, you close your eyes. You do not go straight back to that delta or deepest level of sleep you were just at before the dog barks. You have to go through all the sleep phases again to get to delta. And the same thing happens when we are problem solving or we're handling complicated or novel tasks that we've never dealt with before. Let's say we've got some interesting HR problem at our place of employment and we've never dealt with it before. And we sit down and we start to kind of noodle it over in our brain. And we're like, oh yeah, I feel like I'm really getting somewhere in this thought process right now. And you're getting somewhere and you feel like you keep going deeper into thought. And then all of a sudden, ding, your email dings and your brain says to you, oh, what's that? Let's go look. And you go, because that's what you do when things ding at you. And you go to your inbox and you say, oh, there's an email from my boss. What does she have to say? And you look at it and you're reading it and you're like, wait, Frank, I am supposed to be working on this deep HR problem right now. So Frank's going back to thinking the thoughts he was just thinking, but he can't go back to that same deep level of thought he was just at. His brain needs to like activate the neurons and fire up all of those neuron connections again. And the time it takes for our brains to ramp out of thought and ramp back in and ramp out of thought and ramp back in is known as cognitive switch tax. If you allow yourself to be distracted, you actually pay a tax, and it's time. And experts say over a year, it can actually add up to a month's worth of time. There's that 4 weeks that we were talking about at the beginning of this session, because you are simply jumping around from task to task, not actually doing any task you need to do, but just jumping and pinging between them. And Outlook can be set up in a way where it holds distractions away from you instead of pulling them towards you. And probably the most important reason for understanding focus is the idea of flow state. There's a lot of material on the internet regarding flow state. The Flow Genome Project trains people how to enter flow state. And it's important because it literally multiplies you and how much you can get done in the same amount of time than if you were just in a standard work state. McKinsey and Company did a study, and they said that in their study, when looking at people who worked in normal working environments and normal working modes versus those who very deliberately enter flow state, there was a 5 times multiplier on what the flow state people got done. So imagine your own life. What would the ability to do 5 times more do for your work, your family, your life? That's why focus is so important, because focus is the doorstep to flow state. And in this session, what we're going to do in Outlook will help you focus, and therefore you're more likely to enter into flow state and literally multiply yourself. Now, before I was doing these trainings with clients, I worked, like Lisa said, at a financial firm as a support staff member for 14 years. And for me, that was quite an interesting time, because we had over $2 billion in assets under management. And every single one of those clients could call us during the day from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. They would never go to voicemail. They would never go to some like offshores phone bank. It was always, they were talking to us in the actual regional office. I also sat next to the door. So there were constant deliveries and constant guests that were distractions for me that I had to handle. I supported or was the assistant for 10 financial advisors. I also sat in cubes with the 3 to 5 other support staff members who were in that office. So there wasn't a wall or a door that separated us from every conversation that was happening in that area. So in order to get my work done, I had to manufacture some flow state time. And all that meant for me was I asked management, hey, could I come in from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. and leave an hour early to kind of balance that out? And can I come in that early time and just have that hour to actually get my work done distraction free? And once they said yes to that, then I just eliminated every other distraction. So I made sure that my body wasn't a distraction. So I had made sure I'd gone to the restroom. I had water at my desk. If I needed to eat that early in the morning, then I had already eaten. I made sure that neither my desk phone nor my cell phone were distractions. So I turned off the sound on them during that hour. I made sure that there was something in Outlook that I am about to show you, so that Outlook wasn't a distraction. And then I made sure that everybody who was in the office that early in the morning knew, hey, this is my only hour of undistracted work for the entire day. So if you have any questions, please either email me or ask me after 8 a.m. because I really need this time to focus. And you guys, without distractions, I just naturally noticed that I would enter into flow state. And y'all, I swear I would get like 75% of the tasks that I needed to get done in that first hour, because I would, without distractions, it was just one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And something that we can do in our Outlook environment to limit cognitive switch tax and more readily enter flow state is to turn off all email alerts. Now, some people feel like they want to vomit when I say this, but I promise you, when I have follow-up sessions with clients, this is the easiest thing that they do, that they just say, oh, because I'm no longer getting dinged every time something comes into my inbox. I just notice that I default sometimes to flow state because there's nothing pulling me out of it. So the way that we turn off email alerts, and this does not affect your calendar. So if you have reminders for like 15 minutes before a meeting on your calendar, this does not affect that. It's just the dings and stuff for the emails that are coming into your inbox. So the way that we turn those dings for your inbox off are, again, we're going to go to File in the upper left-hand corner. And again, we're going to go to Options. And when the new screen comes up, this time we're going to go to Mail. And we're going to go down to where it says Message Arrival. I want you to uncheck all of these boxes. And when you uncheck them, click the OK down at the bottom. Because remember, we are trying to get you to a higher level of focus. So you enter flow state and multiply the number of things you can accomplish. Stopping the email notifications also helps to limit your cognitive switch tax. Don't worry, your inbox will always be there and you will get to it, but it doesn't need to ding and ghost message you and do anything every time something comes into that inbox that is new. So that's the idea. We're going to use Outlook as the tool it was designed to be, to bypass distractions and maintain focus and find flow state where you can accomplish things 5 times faster than you do in non-flow state. And you can gain up to 4 weeks back every year because you have a tool to get in front of your life. So high level overview, and then we're going to go really micro in our Outlook environment. So we've already changed some settings. So you go straight to your calendar and task list in the morning, and so that you no longer receive email alerts. So when I am getting into work mode in the morning, I open Outlook. It goes directly to my calendar and my task screen. I right away look at my time commitments for the day, my hard landscape with other people, with appointments with other people. And then I go down to my task list. And like I said before, I do a task or 2 or many or a portion of a larger project, but I still haven't looked at my inbox because my inbox is a distant third priority. Because remember, we're paying ourselves first by taking care of some of those tasks that our past self decided were important for today. And then we're going to go to our inbox to see what the rest of the world thinks should be important for us, either today or sometime in the future. But if you go straight to your inbox in the morning, and you know this is true, it will suck you in. And then all of a sudden it's almost noon and you haven't made any progress on the tasks that you decided to do for your day. And I do this cyclically throughout the day. I work in my task view, complete some things, then I go to my inbox, quickly process it down to 0, go back to my task view, work on task, go to my inbox, quickly process it down to 0, go back to my task view. Because my inbox is like 2 different things in my mind. Number 1, it's a hot potato. I want to get in and out of there as quickly as possible, because think about it. Even if it's just an email that I need to read, if I read it from my inbox, what's going to happen? I'm going to see another email come in, and then another one, and then another one. And my brain will be saying, go look at the new emails. Don't read this one. And it's just like cognitive switch tax city. You're just constantly being distracted. So the way to get over those constant distractions is to move those tasks to this area where you can work on it without the distractions. My Outlook inbox is also like my postal mailbox at home. My postal mailbox at home was not designed to be a storage cabinet or a work desk. It was designed to collect my letters and other mail. And then I take those letters and other mail out of my postal mailbox and I take it to my desk to actually process it. And believe it or not, Outlook was also designed like that. The inbox was not designed to house all of your emails. It was designed to be something that shows you what new has come in, and you clean it out and you deal with it in another environment, which is what I'm about to show you next. So Tana, that all sounds great. I've got 80,000 emails in my inbox right now, which PS, I have coached people through many more than that. So don't freak out if you're someone who has 80,000, 100,000 emails in your inbox right now. The first step is to process that inbox down to 0. And your brain right now is probably saying, oh my gosh, that is never going to be something I can accomplish. But I swear to you, It is not as hard as your brain is trying to convince you to think right now. So what I would like you to do is, if you have thousands of emails in your inbox right now, what I need you to do is, first of all, I want you to view your inbox so that you have a reading pane at the bottom. So the way that you do that is within your inbox, you go to view, and then you go to reading pane, and then you go to bottom. And if you put your reading pane at the bottom, you can then click on this received box up here, and you can sort your emails by the date when they were received. And once you have done that, I want you to create a file folder over here that is called Safety Net or old emails or whatever you want to call it. The name doesn't necessarily matter. For the sake of this presentation, I'm going to call it Safety Net. And any email that is older than 2 weeks old, or again, if that makes you want to vomit, any email that is over 4 weeks old, you just move all of those emails into the Safety Net folder without reading them again, without deleting things that you no longer need, literally without doing anything. You just move it into the Safety Net folder. I'm not asking you to delete them or do anything, just move it over. And then you will have the last 2 weeks worth of emails to actually process to zero. Now, why am I asking you to move all of those older than 2 week emails over to the Safety Net folder? Number one, if an email is over 2 weeks, older than 2 weeks old, number one, you've probably already dealt with it. Number two, if you haven't dealt with it, it's probably not that important. And number three, if it is important, it will probably come back to you. And we're trying to get you to a manageable number of emails to actually process to zero. And it makes sense to do the more recent emails because those are probably the more important emails to deal with at this point. So once you have moved all of those older emails over, then you can process the rest of your emails down to zero. And when you are processing down to zero, there is only 4 things that you can do with any email that you received. Number one, you can delete an email. If Best Buy is sending you marketing emails and you no longer shop at Best Buy, you can just delete those emails. You can also unsubscribe to those emails, and so that you don't have to delete the same kind of emails that you have decided you do not need over and over again, but you can just delete, unsubscribe, and hopefully you don't get them anymore, and that saves you time. So you can delete. Number two is file. If an email is something that you don't need to do something with, but you may need to reference it in the future, then you just put that into one of your file folders. Number three is a quick response. If an email would take you less than 2 minutes to deal with, then feel free to take care of that when you are quickly processing your emails down to zero. Like, hey, Lisa, will you be at the holiday party next week? Yep, I'll be there. You don't need to do anything special in order to respond to that email. It takes less than 2 minutes to just take care of it while you're processing down to zero. And the fourth thing is to task an email. Now, if you've never done a task and you're trying to multitask right now, this is the part where you definitely want to pay attention to only me, because tasks are the hidden gem of Outlook. And I swear most people don't even know they exist or how powerful they can be. So in order to create a task, you first of all need to be able to see your task icon in the lower left-hand corner. And that is the little clipboard with the check mark. If you cannot see it, then it is hidden behind these 3 dots. And you would want to click on the 3 dots, go to navigation options, and you would just find where your tasks item is, and you would move it up using the move up button to either the first, second, or third position, or wherever you would be able to see it down here. I personally prefer it in the 3rd position, but you can put it wherever you want. And then you would click OK. And once it's in a position where you can actually see it, then you can create a task. So let's say that this is an email that I just need to read later on today, because I can't do it right now. I'm in the middle of a presentation with you guys, and pretend there is actually something to read. I like to practice what I preach, so there's not a whole lot of emails in my inbox. So for this one, I'm going to task it for later today. The way to do that is you right click, not left click, like you do 99% of the time with your mouse, but right click on the email, and you don't click down the button and let it go. You click down the button, do not let it go. pull the email down to hover over the task icon and let it go once you're over the task icon. And if you do it correctly, you should receive these options. If you do not receive these options, then you haven't done it correctly and you might want to try it again. Remember, you have to push down the right click button, hold it down, and only release it when you're over the task icon. And these are the options that you get. Copy here as a task with text, copy here as a task with attachment, or move here as a task with attachment. I exclusively use the second and third options. The difference between them is if you choose the copy here with attachment option, Outlook will create a task with the email embedded in the task, and it will keep the original email in your inbox. The move here option, and I'll show you an example of both of these in a minute. The move here option, Outlook creates a task with the email embedded in the task, but it moves the original email from your inbox to your deleted box. So if you're the type of person where you love to have the email both in the task and somewhere in your file folders, then you're going to be a copy here as a task with attachment kind of person. But if you get really proficient with tasks and you're like, you know what, I can search for all of the emails that I need within the tasks themselves. So it seems redundant to have to take care of them both in the tasks and in my file folders. So I'm just going to deal with them in one place, and I'm going to use the move here option. Again, it's up to your preference. Neither one is right, neither one is wrong. It's just whatever you like. So I'm going to do one of each for this as we're processing these emails down to 0. So for this one, I'm going to choose move here. And Outlook has created a task for me. It defaults the subject line to the task or to the subject of the email itself. So I like to give myself notes as to what I actually need to do in the subject line. Now, I don't do anything with these boxes over here. To me, they are bells and whistles, but if you would find them important or useful, feel free to experiment with them. This is the email itself embedded in the task. I like to always, if an email or a task has next steps, I like to delineate the next steps while I am setting up the task in the first place, because right now I know exactly what next steps are, but if I don't need to do anything with this until a week from now, then I might not remember that. So I'm always giving my future self a break by telling the next steps in advance. So for this one, it's just to read, but let's pretend it's like read email, draft client, email blast, QC draft with manager, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can just delineate all your next steps. And then the most important thing to do is to set a due date. Now, this is not the actual due date. If I have an actual due date, I will often put that as the first thing in the subject line, so it's always top of mind. And then I utilize the due date option as the next date when I am going to touch this task date. So I want to do this later on today. So I'm going to set the due date for today. And once I have the due date set, I'm going to save and close. And you can see now task email number 1 is no longer in my inbox because I chose the move option. It is now in my deleted box. All right, so I'm going to process these next 2 emails down to 0 as well. So let's pretend that this is an email where someone just needs to schedule a meeting with me. And again, I'm not going to do that right now, so I'm going to task it for later. So I'm going to right click, hold down the right click, drag it down here. This time I'm going to choose copy with attachment so you can see the difference. This time I need to schedule a meeting. There's no next steps that I need to worry about really, because it's point blank. I just need to schedule a meeting. And let's say I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to do it tomorrow. So I'm going to save and close. And you see, because I chose the copy here option, that email is still in my inbox. So I can file it into one of my file folders at this point. And then task email number 3, again, let's pretend this is just an email that I need to read later today. And I personally don't want to create another task for reading that I need to do later today. I want to add it to the task that I just created with y'all for that. So I'm going to go to my task list for today. And you can see right here that reading task is sitting right here in my task list for today. So I'm going to double click on it. And I don't actually need to do these next steps, so I'm going to delete them. And wherever I want this second email to go, I put the cursor there. And within the task itself, if I go to insert, and I can attach a file within insert. So if there's a Word document, a spreadsheet, a PDF that would be helpful for a task, I can attach that in here. Or I can attach an Outlook item. So if I choose Outlook item, I can go to any sent folder for any Outlook inbox that I have. I can go to any file folder that I have, anywhere. I can choose any email that is within any part of Outlook. The email that I need is it within my Focus to Evolve inbox. Here it is, test task email number 3. I'm going to double click it. And now both of those emails are sitting in there waiting for me to read them later today. So if I'm going back to my inbox to process that email down to 0, I can now file it wherever it needs to go. Okay, and I'm not going to take the time to read this, so I'm just going to task this for later. I'll choose the copy here. And I'm going to set this due date for today. And this is just information I need to do. So I'm going to save and close, and I'm going to move this to the file folder where it goes. Oops. All right, so there I've just processed those 4 emails down to 0. Now it seemed like it took a while, but remember, when we are processing down to 0, we are not necessarily doing the things that the emails are asking us to do. Like if a client is asking us to send a report or something, we're not necessarily doing that unless it would take less than 2 minutes to do it. We are simply getting those emails out of our inbox and scheduling them for when we will actually do them in a distraction-free environment, like our task list. And your brain is probably saying, oh, it's going to take so long to do that. But I have watched people who have never had clean inboxes process their email inboxes down to 0, and it goes much faster than you would think it does if you just get into it. Because remember, you're not doing the things that the emails are asking you for. You're just scheduling them. And it's just right click, dragging down, setting a due date, putting in next steps if you need, but it doesn't have to take long to clean this out. So that's how you process your emails down to 0. You're deleting, you're filing, you're quick responding, and you're tasking. So let's say that I finished my presentation with you all and I want to actually read those emails that I wanted to read later today. I can go in here, and in here, now that I don't have email notifications that come up, in here, I cannot hear a ding. I cannot see new emails. In here, I can work distraction free. So I'm going to go to that to read task. And I can double click on the email right here. I don't need to go to my inbox or to look through another file folder in order to find it. It's sitting right there for me. Pretend there's something to read here. And I can reply to this email or forward it from the task itself. I don't need to go anywhere in order to do exactly what I could do from my inbox. I can do it right here in the task itself. So let's say I'm done reading that email. There's nothing really I need to do with it. And let's look at the second email. Pretend there's again something to read. And I decide, you know what? I just needed to read those. I don't need to do anything else with them. So I'm going to mark this task complete. Now, I would always suggest marking your tasks complete rather than deleting them. And here's why. If you mark a task complete, and if you see it dropped off of my task list for today, if I go to my full task list by clicking on the task icon down here, now I have my task list in a to-do list format, and I would highly suggest that you also put your tasks in this view. The reason why is you can see here, if I kind of scroll down here, I have hundreds and hundreds of tasks within my task list. Like there are just so many tasks in here. But because I have it in a to-do list and I have it sorted by due date, Outlook, and because all of my tasks have due dates assigned to them, Outlook chunks up all of these hundreds of tasks into manageable daily bite sizes. So I know I don't have to worry about this full task list. I only have these 4 tasks left to do for today. And then tomorrow I'll have these tasks to do. And Saturday I'll have these tasks, and Sunday I'll have these tasks, but it chunks it up so that no day looks overly undoable. So the way that you have this view is if you go to, oops, let me get back into here. Sorry about that. Okay, so if you are in your task list and if you go to view, change view, and then to-do list, and then if you click on due date, then your to-do list will be chunked up the way you see it here. But going back to marking a task complete rather than deleting them, if I go to my full task list, you will see that there are a ton of completed tasks in here. Their status is completed and they are crossed out. So I can always go to the search box at the top of my screen and search for any completed task that I have. So that means if you mark a task complete, you can always find the embedded emails and any like next step or notes that you put within the body of an email. You can always look those up again. Whereas if you delete them, you cannot look them up again. So that's why I suggest always marking things complete rather than deleting. Now, you do not need to have a email in order to create a task. So let's say that you're on the phone with someone and it goes from being kind of a chit chat conversation to them needing you to do something. And I will often, when I am on the phone with someone and they're asking me to do something and I'm at my laptop, I will go straight to new task. And I'll make the subject line like tasks from combo with Andrea. And as Andrea is talking, because I can type much faster and more legibly than I can write on a sticky note, I will just type out whatever Andrea is telling me to do. Pretend I am typing out the instructions that Andrea is giving me and not just the chicken scratch that I am typing out. Yep, Andrea, I can hear you. You can hear me typing. I promise I am just typing down what you are telling me to say. I'm totally paying attention. Yep. Andrea sounds like she's done. And I'll say, okay, Andrea, what I heard you say you need, and then I'll read this off. And then you need, and I'll read this off. And then you need, and I'll read this off. Does that sound right? Yep, that sounds totally cool. Okay, I don't think I'm going to be able to get to that today, but I think I'll be able to get to that looking at that tomorrow. Is that going to be okay? Yep, that's totally cool. Okay, and I set my due date for tomorrow. I save and close, and then I completely don't think about that task for Andrea until I open Outlook and I look at my task list tomorrow. And I know that if I go down to the bottom, tasks for combo with Andrea is sitting right there waiting for me. So I don't need to think about it anymore today. I can worry about the things that I need to get done today. And I know that Outlook will bring this up for me again tomorrow when I intend to actually look at it. I don't have to think about it again today. You can also create recurring tasks, and y'all, I use recurring tasks like they are a lifeline. The way that you do a recurring task is, let's say that you have a report that you need to send out every Thursday. If you go to new task, and maybe it's run Clark report because it's a report for the Clark family. If I go to recurrence, now I can do a daily recurrence. I can do a daily recurrence every 1 day, every 5 days, every weekdays. I can do a monthly recurrence. I can do a yearly recurrence. For the sake of this one, I'm going to do a weekly recurrence. I want it to happen every 1 week on Thursday. And I'm going to do no end date because I don't know when the clerks are going to not receive this task or this report that I run for them every week. So if I click OK and I save and close, you can see that now Run Clark Report is a recurring task on my list for today. And if I mark it complete, it will then go to next Thursday. If I go to my task list for next Thursday, you can see Run Clark Report is right there. Now, Outlook will not, like, let's say you set up a daily recurring task, it's not going to show that task. Like if I went to my, if I go to my to-do list in my tasks, it's not going to say, like run Clark report in here into the future just a million times, because Outlook is trying to conserve its bandwidth. So it shows you the first occurrence of a task, and when you mark that first occurrence complete, then it will show you the next one. So I don't want you to think that you did it wrong if you don't see like a million occurrences of a task because you set it up every day. You did not do it wrong. You have to mark the first one complete, and then you'll see the next recurrence. But y'all, recurring tasks save me so much time. I do not use my brain's bandwidth to remember things to do at all. I choose to use my brain's bandwidth to remember sentimental things like, oh, that blanket, I received that from Aunt Connie for our wedding, and here's the story behind it. Or I like to use my brain's bandwidth to learn new things or be creative, or to remember the things that I want to keep in there. My brain's bandwidth does not go to things to do. I have outsourced things to do to Outlook. And you will see, if I look at next Thursday, because I already did it for today, there is a weekly recurring that reminds me to take out the trash. I have a daily recurring that says teeth. Now, I am an adult, and that fuzzy slipper feeling will remind me to brush my own teeth. Thank you very much. But I have a 6-year-old son, and he still needs help to be reminded to brush his teeth every day. And that is important to me. So I make sure that Outlook is always reminding me that I need to do that every day. I have yearly recurring tasks for the week before every loved one's birthday that says prep for mom's birthday or prep for my sister's birthday. So I know that I have a week to buy a card, write in it, get it in the mail, and they'll get it before it's their actual birthday. I have yearly recurrings that remind me to get Halloween candy in mid-October. I have yearly recurrings that remind me to wash the outside windows of my house in the spring. Y'all, recurring tasks take so much clutter out of my brain. So definitely set up some recurrings for things that you do regularly and you want to remember. Okay, so we talked about creating tasks and the different kinds of tasks that we create. I now want to talk to you about my end of day routine. I think it's really important to have end of day routines so that your work life and your personal life do not constantly bleed together. For me, there is always kind of an end to when I am looking at a computer for the day versus when I am with my family and no longer working at a computer or looking at a computer for the day. And my end of day routine kind of is that demarcation point where one ends and the next begins. So when about 30 minutes before I want to close my laptop down for the day, I start my end of day routine. And all that means is my first stop is my inbox. I do a last process to zero session. So for this one, I just need to file it away. And I would also clear out this inbox, my personal one, at the end of the day, so that my brain sees, okay, there was nothing left undone in the inbox. That's fine, I can relax. I then go to my task view for the day. And at the end of every day, every single one of these tasks will either be marked complete or they will be updated and moved to a future date, so that my brain at the end of every day will see nothing in here as well. And it will say, okay, all right, I did everything I needed to do today. There is nothing left undone. Great. I then look forward to the next day. And my first stop is my task list for the next day. And I say, okay, given the number of meetings that I have for the next day, is this a manageable number of tasks to actually do? And if it is, then I will often drag and drop these tasks to the actual chronological order that I think I'm going to do them. So let's say I've got like 5 different meetings that I need to schedule. I will often batch those close together so that when I'm in my calendar and I'm kind of thinking about scheduling meetings, I'm doing them all together. If I've got a bunch of reports that I need to run, I'll batch those together so that when I'm in report running mode, I'm kind of doing them all together. And then the things that I need to do in the morning, I'll usually put them more at the top, and the things that I can't do until the afternoon, I'll put them more towards the bottom. So you can drag and drop these these to the chronological order that you think you'll actually do them the next day. And then my last stop is I look at my calendar and I become the architect of my ideal day for the next day. Now, you see this little carrot over here? You can maximize and minimize your task list just by clicking this little carrot. So if you need to see more of your calendar when you're being the architect of your ideal day, you can just use the carrot over here. So yesterday during my kind of wrap up routine or end of day routine, I became the architect of my ideal day today. And that is what you are seeing on my calendar right now. So the hard landscape of my day are my presentation with you all that I'm doing right now. I've got another phone call at 2 o'clock today. I've got a phone call after that. And then I am picking up my son from school and being with him until his daddy takes over to kind of be primary parent around 6 o'clock. So that's my hard landscape for the day. So yesterday when I was saying, okay, what do I need in my ideal day tomorrow? Once I got the hard landscape under control, I said, okay, what do I need as a person or a human being in order to be my best self tomorrow? And for me, that always means I need to find time to exercise. I need to find time to get dressed and take a shower. And then I need to find time to unfocus. And I will explain that more in a second. And then the rest of my time is taken up by deep work time. And deep work, all that means is during this period of time, I am in this environment and actively working on completing or updating and moving due dates forward for all of the tasks that I have. And then there is a separate time after my deep work time to process my inbox down to 0. And you'll see after my presentation with y'all, I'll have another mini deep work time and another mini process to 0 time. And that's when I get my actual work done for the tasks and the emails that I receive during the day. But then there is this unfocused time. And this is arguably the most important part of every single one of my days. So if we kind of listen to the stories of geniuses throughout history, you will often notice this common thread in their stories of, well, oh, that idea came to me in a dream, or that idea came to me when I was sitting in a bathtub, or when I was sitting under an apple tree, or when I was on a walk, or when I was being artistic, or when I was playing with my children. When we are in our task list and we're doing, and we're busy, we are firmly planted in our prefrontal cortex in our brain. But when we stop all of the busyness and we kind of drop back into our bodies and we say, okay, what do I most want to do right now? And we do whatever that thing is. We go into what's called the default mode network in our brains. And our brains, in that kind of rested state, it will take all of the disparate thoughts that you've been kind of mulling over all day, and it will start making connections for you. So it's kind of that phenomenon where if you're looking for your keys, you won't be able to find them. But when you stop looking for your keys, they will find you. It's that phenomenon where when you stop trying to think so hard about things, new ideas just kind of bubble up to the surface. And my business partner and I, we both have an hour or 2 hours every day firmly planted in prime real estate business hours to unfocus. That's how seriously we take this, because we are trying to build a business. We're trying to use our gifts to the fullest. We are trying to just make our environments a better place. And in order to do that, we need to have time to be creative and think new thoughts. And so we need time to actually do that, where we're not focused on being busy. We're just focused on relaxing and letting our genius ideas bubble up to surface. And most days, I mean, during my unfocused time, all that means to me is I'm asking my body, okay, what do I most need right now? And sometimes it's, I need a nap. Sometimes it's, I need to move my body. Sometimes it's, I need to meditate. I need to pray. I need to look out the window. It's just whatever it is that you most need to do, and doing it, that is unfocused time. And again, you might not be able to find an hour to 2 hours in the middle of your corporate job's work hours, but can you find 20 minutes? Can you find 10 minutes? Can you find 5 minutes? Because any amount of time where you just let your brain kind of turn off for a while can be enough sometimes to let those genius ideas bubble to the surface. And I believe every human born has those genius ideas. But if we're not quiet enough to be able to hear them, because I swear they are only ever whispers, then we miss out on what is truly the most important part of what every human being has to offer. And it doesn't have to be Thomas Edison inventing the light bulb level of genius. Maybe it's just, hey, grandma sounded a little lonely last week, so maybe let's call her more often. That in and of itself is a genius idea. It's making the world a better place. It's bringing more love to the world. Genius. So please try and find time to unfocus, even if it's for 5 minutes every day, because that's where your true genius comes out. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing and I am going to take whatever questions y'all have. I think they're.
Yeah, we have one question from Miriam. That 2 to 4 weeks that you mentioned, would you to close your emails to move them over to like the older ones? Do you suggest auto archive?
So I personally wouldn't, because that is thinking of the process incorrectly. I am suggesting this as like a one-time clean out thing, because after you clean it out and you're down to 0 once, then every day, or at least like every other day, or whatever cadence it is for you, I feel like for me, at the end of every day, my email inbox is down to 0. And actually a couple of times a day, I have my email inbox down to 0, but I wouldn't it's every day I'm cleaning it out. So if you don't need an auto archive if every day you're cleaning it out. So I would suggest not relying on an auto archive, because that means you're not taking the clean inbox seriously. I would like you to make your brain be the one that every day it's like, okay, I'm cleaning this out. So I make sure that I'm not waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning worrying about the things that I didn't see in my inbox. I know before I shut down, there was nothing that I didn't see and that I didn't either manage today or I didn't task today for a later date. So I would not suggest our auto archive. It's just the one-time clean out, and then you are the archiver by tasking and dealing with it every day or every other day or whatever you need to do in order to keep up with it after that. But great question.
Makes sense. We have one from Mace. How do you walk away from intense projects each day when you have 3 or 4 that you're juggling?
Yep. So I call intense project deep work projects, meaning if you're going to have to work on it more than 20, 30 minutes during that single day, to me, it's a deep work project. Other tasks are shallow tasks. Oh, and I forgot to show you a more deep work project, but your Outlook tasks can also be deep work kind of tasks where you have multiple steps and you have multiple emails. I showed you 2 emails attached to a task, but you can attach as many emails as you need. You can attach as many notes as you need, as many URLs as you need. You can attach so much within the body of a task. I only have 2 to 3 deep work tasks max per day. If you have more than that, you're expecting too much of yourself, and they should be like pushed out to future dates when you can actually deal with them, because you don't want 70 tasks in your today queue. That's just unmanageable, and you're teaching your brain to think, oh, this isn't serious. We don't actually have to get through all the tasks that we have on the task list for today. You need to parcel them out to days when you're actually going to deal with them. So for me, I am always chunking up those deep work projects into more manageable, shallow tasks for a day. So it will be, okay, what is the 30 minutes that I can do for this task today? Then I move the due date forward the next day. What's the 30 minutes I can do for this task today? Move it forward to the next date. And I'm always chunking it up so that I am not ever assuming that I can work on something for 4 hours straight in a day, because
Right.
who has the ability to work on one thing for 4 hours during the day? But I'm always chunking it up into more manageable bites and then using the due date to move it to the next day to take the next more manageable bite, and so on.
Sure.
But turning off the email notifications is also another thing that if you do that, you'll notice that it's much more easy to work on those deep work projects without distraction than it is if you have the email notifications on.
And I can attest to that, Tana. I know we're coming on our hour here, but I've turned that off a few months ago, and it's been very liberating, that
Yeah.
small little task, that
Yes.
little tactic. And I know, as we come to a close, I know a lot of what we covered today is technical, and yet it has such an emotional attachment to it for me, because
Yes.
I'm not a techie either myself. Yet you're giving us some very simple and powerful techniques to get our life back and I think what we're walking away from here, from my perspective, is the need to retrain ourselves a little bit.
Yes.
Nothing is risk-free, nothing is simple initially, but the simple tasks that you're giving us are allowing us to really, we can use that to retrain. And I think one of the phrases that you mentioned before, architect of my ideal day. I would
Yes.
love everyone to walk away remembering that you could be an architect of your ideal day. And what you've given us is how to start it, how to manage it through the day, and how to close it. I loved your closing tips too. So as we come to a close, I'm so thankful for you to have brought your time in with us today and your insights, Tana. Great ways for us to move forward, get out of our inbox and into that work-life balance. I want to thank everyone else on the call, really your audience, my audience, your participation. You are why Careers Advance exists, and it's why we strive to make a difference. I hope you got a lot from this. Do keep an eye out for the recording next week so you can catch what you missed, and certainly share it with your colleagues.
And if anybody has any questions, I did put my email address in the chat. It's tana@focustoevolve.com. I know there are some questions we didn't get to, so feel free to email me if you would like. Or Lisa, I don't know if you would want me to stay on longer. I can answer more questions. It's up to you, or people can just email me.
I know everyone's got their time to go, and to your point of keeping on task, I appreciate you wanting to be here longer. You are such a doll, and I certainly encourage folks to reach out to you. I know I will, because I saw something I wanted to ask a question on. Just for everyone else, as you leave here, mark your calendars. December 9th, they're going to be hosting another webinar on employment laws for our new workplace. You won't want to miss it. And just final thought, really, to Tana's point, our conversation does not have to end here. So reach out to Tana with questions, reach out to me with ideas for new webinar topics or questions that you have, even share updates on your world. Let's keep in touch, because when we work together, everyone's mission is possible. See you all next time.